Gambling's meant to be fun, but when you're like somebody like myself and you're an addict, you can't just have that fun. It's impossible, because it's got to a stage where you just got to cut it clean. You've got to make a clean break from it.
Over the years Sporting Chance has been in existence, we've seen a lot of change in the presenting issues. Currently, the biggest presenting issue that we have in sports people is gambling.
I was an addict, but I was also a very, very good footballer. And luckily for me, it generally didn't affect my career. It certainly affected my relationship. My wife had said that she wouldn't no longer stay with me. She'd had enough of the lies, and that she was going and she was leaving, and that was my rock bottom. Her bags were packed, on my hands and knees, pleaded with her not to go. She said, you go onto that computer, find yourself a Gamblers Anonymous meeting, because you've tried everything else.
I became very good at lying. Gambling had become my coping mechanism. It had become my place where I felt safe, even though it was actually the place that was completely destroying me.
What I had to do was learn new coping mechanisms, but it only came when, first of all, I was aware that I had a problem. And then second of all, and I will say this to any and every addict out there, nobody can do it for you. You have to do it yourself. There's no getting away from the fact that it destroys your relationship, because you're a fraud.
Rather than being Paul, the son who's got the great career, the perfect family, the one I don't have to worry about, you've now got Paul, the pathological gambler who's hugely in debt, who's just tried to kill himself in work, and worse to come. That's not an easy conversation for anyone to have with the mum. An hour later, I had probably had a harder conversation with my wife.
It's very important that close members of your family support you, because you're going to need them to get clean and to move forward.
I've got a great network of family and friends, and they all stuck by me at a time that they could have easily walked away. And I know other instances where other people have been in my situation where family have disowned them. And if that had happened to me, I wouldn't be alive now. I know that for a fact.
It's often really difficult for an athlete to make the first step of deciding to come to see somebody. They describe sometimes the sense among teams, particularly in men's teams, that if you have an issue with your mental well-being or how you feel, that means that you're a bit weak or a bit soft. That barrier of understanding that it's okay to talk to somebody is a big one.
You've got to want to get help, and you've got to want to change your lifestyle. There's Gamblers Anonymous, there's Gamblock. If you're gambling on the internet, on the computer, you can block yourself from gambling. You can go into your local bookmakers and you can ban yourself from the shop. I can totally understand when people say that they're embarrassed to go. What I would say to that is, you're doing something good. You're accepting you've got a problem. Believe me, in the long run, more doors will open up for you because you've become clean and you've become honest.
The vast majority of people would much rather you be honest about what you're going through and receive help for it in order to be a better part of that team, rather than shoulder the burden of secrecy and have that impact your professional performance.
People think it's just a financial addiction, but psychologically it's all I'd really thought about for the best part of 10 years. And the biggest thing I think when it comes to recovering from a gambling addiction is you've got to find out what the triggers were, and you've got to actually replace the feelings and the buzz that gambling gave you and the time with something positive. If you don't do that, you will continue to relapse, and we know it's got the highest relapse rate of any of the addictions.
I think one of the things that seeing a therapist can do, and learning a bit more about yourself, learning sort of thinking skills and understanding where the problem comes from, I suppose in some ways that it can reduce the risk of those problems arising again in the future, because you can leave contact with a psychologist with extra skills that you didn't have before, that I suppose equip you to be a bit more resilient.
The Sporting Chance Clinic was fantastic. It changed my life. It possibly saved my life, without exaggeration. Going down there and knowing that the workers were specialists in what I was suffering from, but also knowing that they had an empathetic and a deep understanding about my industry. Because what goes on in sport and what goes on from sport to sport is very, very particular.
We do understand the athlete, we understand their training needs, we understand the need for confidentiality, and we understand some of the issues that they might have that the general population don't have. Many of our services have been designed and are created by sportsmen for sportsmen. Some of our therapists are retired players.
I think the talking for me, realising the hurt, the lies, all the guilt that I had bottled up inside me, I needed to sort of get that out to sort of start fresh again.
What I would say to anyone is that whether your relationship with gambling be concerning to you or causing you major problems, there is a solution. There is a solution and there is a pathway and there is support available to you. It is worth your while finding out what that is. We have many people that are back in their lives playing professional sport and happy in their families and financially responsible after addressing their gambling problems.